Good evening, everyone. So a warm welcome to all of you for today's session on the $3 trillion unsexy opportunity, scaling deep tech from Kerala to the global stage. On behalf of TiE Kerala, I am delighted to welcome each one of you once again. It's wonderful to see such an enthusiastic gathering of founders, innovators, ecosystem leaders, and aspiring entrepreneurs coming together for a conversation that is both timely and highly relevant. So today's session is particularly special as we are hosting it in association with City, the Calicut Innovation and Technology Initiative, as part of the Kochi Roadshow leading up to the Kerala Technology Expo Global 2026. And before we move forward, it's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker and moderator for today's session. We are privileged to have with us Mr. Sabarinath Nair, founder and CEO of SKILLVERI Training Solutions Private Limited, a pioneering deep tech entrepreneur who has built impactful solutions in simulation-based training and has successfully taken innovation from India to global markets. So allow me to introduce a bit more about Sabri. Under his leadership, SKILLVERI has emerged as a global player in XR-based multi-skill simulation, enabling industry-ready training solutions for manufacturing and beyond. And Sabri is a recipient of National Innovation for Skills Challenge by NSDC and serve on the Prime Minister's Champions of Change Initiative for Education and Skill Development, reflecting his contribution to advancing India's skilling ecosystem. Warm welcome to you. In conversation with him today is Mr. Rajesh Padinare Madam, CEO and COO and co-founder of Wiser AI and a valued charter member of TiE Kerala, who brings deep insights into AI-driven transformation and scaling technology-led businesses. So, to set the context for a larger platform that brings us together today, I would now like to invite our moderator, Mr. Rajesh, to briefly introduce KTX Global Expo 2026 and share more about TiE Kerala's association with CITI, etc. Thank you. Over to you, Rajesh.
So I'm looking forward to this session. In fact, had a great conversation with Sabri yesterday, just trying to understand his journey. I think that's very important, and I think it's been, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a really exciting conversation, very interesting journey as well. But before we start off, I want to thank TiE Kerala for presenting the session as an ecosystem partner for KTX Global 2026 as part of their Kochi Roadshow. And I request Mr. Rajan, Chairman City, to come to the stage and speak a few words, just talking about the initiative. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Sabarish, and thank you, TiE Kerala, for this opportunity given to us. I am here to do three important things. One, to tell you the unique Kerala story, that is City 2.0, to talk to you about KTX, and invite you all to be part of KTX. Welcome you all to the great city, city of truth, city of literature, and city of good food, Calicut. So, to start with, CT, Calicut Innovation Technology Initiative, is a unique story that has happened in Kerala, where trade organizations, education bodies, and professional institutions have come together to work for the growth of Tier 2 city, which has not happened anywhere in India. So, City 2.0 is actually a registered society initiated by Malabar Chamber of Commerce. Our president is here. And the others in the society are Indian Institute of Management, NIT, Government Cyber Park, UL Cyber Park, KSITL, Calicut Management Association, professional bodies of IT professionals of Calicut, CRADAI. And these are the 9 organizations that have come together to see how, when in India, tier 2 cities are making lots of difference, lots of developments, why not we all work together to do this? So this is a growth story that has happened. It is being appreciated by many in different parts of the country. Many are trying to do that, but nobody was able so far to bring all together to sign a document to make a society with an ambition to make the city a special hub for innovation and technology. Thank you for giving us the opportunity here. Then coming to Kerala Technology Expo. When we were talking about various things in what we have to do in Calicut, about skilling, what are the areas where we should work, we all thought, with the guidance of Dr. Saji Gobinath, why don't we make it a Kerala event? Why don't we make it a Kerala Technology Expo? Why don't you do a Kerala Technology Expo which is not already there? So that you bring stakeholders here, you bring investors here, you showcase your talent, showcase the talent of Calicut, showcase the talent of Kerala, so that this will be another GITEX in the future where people will be coming here to doing business, growing business, developing the tier 2 city. As such, Kerala is a tier 2 city. So that's how KTX, Kerala Technology Expo, evolved. And in 2024, with lots of apprehension whether it is going to happen in Calicut, whether it will happen in Calicut, we pulled it out with the support of all the stakeholders, with the public, the support, the startups, the entrepreneurs, who all came together, which made it a remarkable event. I'm not going to tell what was the number of participants. I'm not going to tell about how many speakers came, but I'll tell you what the impact that has created for that city. Now the ecosystem is fully vibrant. You don't have any space now available in those tech parks. Another 35 lakh square feet of towers are going to come up in 2 tech parks. Lots of startup activities are happening. And people are traveling from Calicut to Ernakulam, Trivandrum, from Trivandrum to Ernakulam to come to Calicut. So that's what is going to be a great growth story. It will be a story that's happening for Kerala. And I have my Vice Chairman, Akhtar, who will be making a brief about KTX Global 2026. But actually, it is going to be it's not going to be an IT event. We are going to focus it as a convergence of industry, technology, convergence. The theme will be connect, innovate, and scale. So how the local industries can connect with the technologies, national, global, and how they can connect, interact, and scale. So these technology events should not be just showcasing something. It should be a place where you should be connecting, interacting, and growing. So it's going to be a beginning for this. So we all welcome you there to Calicut. Experience this. Make it an emerging event of Kerala, a remarkable event of Kerala. Hope you will all be there in Calicut. So there are lots of focus this time also for startups also. There will be exclusive startup pavilion where KCM has already earmarked 32 stalls for startups. There will be separate sessions. We are inviting investors already. Many of the national investors have already, angel funds have already confirmed their participation. So it is going to be an event for, there will be lots of focus on startups also. So this is KTX. I am really glad. So I am really glad that TI Kerala is going to be our industry partner, the right place, right people to associate with, because with lots of entrepreneurs and industry giants here. And with their guidance, with their mentoring, there can be lots of changes that can happen in Calicut. So remember, Kerala Technology Expo, KTX Global 2026 is going to happen in Calicut from May 28th to 30th of this year. There will be workshops. We have tied up with a digital university, many organizations. We will be conducting lots of workshops. There will be exhibition, there will be stalls, there will be fireside chats, there will be one-to-one interactions. So come to Calicut, experience it. Thank you very much. I will invite Mr. Akhtar to make a brief presentation. We won't take much time to make you understand what we are planning in for KTS Global 2026. We have with us our President of Malabar Chamber of Commerce, Nityanand Kamath. We have Simi Reshma, who is one of part of our curating team. We are all here to get your feedback and also to invite you to be there in Calicut. Thank you very much.
Hi all, very good evening. And I'm pretty sure you all are keenly waiting for the interaction between Mr. Shabrish and Rajesh. And hope you don't mind us taking a little bit of time to explain about KTX. Before I talk about KTX, can I ask you a question? How many of you had heard about KTX? So can you please raise your hand? Just wanted to know. Okay, I'm not expecting much, but still I'm asking you, okay? All right, so fortunately, a few of you have already heard about it. So in the first edition, when we started, people were actually saying, see, none of this actually ever happened in Kerala before. So why you guys are actually planning to get an exhibition like this, get it done in Calicut? Because, we have bigger cities in Kerala itself, in Kochi and Trivandrum. So, but we actually thought, from many of us, I mean, we all go together from Calicut, Kochi and Trivandrum, go together to exhibit at GITEX in Dubai as part of Kerala IT. I think most of you might know about that, right? So we were wondering, so why don't we have such an exhibition in, there are not much exhibitions in India, let alone in Kerala, okay, because there was none. So we thought there is definitely a gap where actually people from all of the Kerala can come to a place where people from diverse industries can actually get into a point where the experts in technology help the other business leaders to with the points how to apply technology in their business, how to do digital transformation, how to take their business forward. So there was no such exhibition. I mean, as you all know, Huddle, Kerala Startup Mission has had an event called Huddle Global, which has been happening for the last 7 years, which is more like a startup beach festival, right? I think many of you might have already gone there. But there was none which actually connects the technology with the business community, right? Just like GITEX. So there was definitely a gap there. So we thought, someone definitely had to start it, right? So, and we also started with making it as the gateway to the Middle East. And as you all know, Calicut has a very rich history of connecting to the Middle East, right? So we thought Calicut was the ideal place to have a tech expo to connect Kerala with the Middle East, right? Thus, we actually started KTX, and the first edition was fantastic. We have more than 10,000 visitors. We have 100 plus exhibitors who actually exhibited in a way which actually those of many people from Kochi and Trivandrum visited over there. They said, okay, they feel like it's a mini GITEX, okay? So this year we have actually made it bigger. Last year it was more like Kerala. It was more like Calicut technology ecosystem exhibited over there. This year we are expecting more people from outside Calicut because to make it really Kerala Technology Expo. And we have in this year we have, next slide please. We are focusing mainly on 6 verticals: retail, healthcare, IT overall, logistics and supply chain, tourism technologies, and infrastructure and smart city. Because these are the tech areas which actually Kerala has a lot of potential, as you all know, right? So this time we are expecting 3 times visitors, 3 times exhibitors, and we are all pretty sure that this is going to take the Kerala technology ecosystem to the next level. So we all want you to be there, whether it as a exhibitor or a delegate to learn about what's all happening in and around Kerala, and definitely globally as well, because we are going to have speakers from all over the globe as well. And or if you are an investor, we are going to have Investor Connect as well, okay? So I invite all of you, once again I invite all of you to visit KTX 2026 between May 28 to 30 in Calicut. Thank you.
Just to tell you that this event is supported by the government of Kerala and all the other departments, and we want this event to be a major event in the coming years, a major Kerala event happening in Calicut in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I think it's really great to see all these initiatives coming up in Kerala, and as somebody who has been building out of Kerala ecosystem for last 15 plus years. It's really great to see that great growth and energy happening here. So thank you. Again, welcome everybody to the session today. The 3 trillion unsexy opportunity, scaling deep tech from Kerala to the global stage. So before we start off and get to know a little bit more about SKILLVERI and Shabari, I want to set a little bit of context, right? And I've been, I've been a technology entrepreneur, but a lot more on the easier side, so to speak. No, and really, right? I think a lot of us have taken the easier paths. When I say easier path, which is, either software, services, a combination of these. But then I think this topic is very interesting for me, because of a few reasons that I'm seeing. So I just want to maybe set the context, right? So a couple of things. One, as somebody who's built technology organizations, so I built a company called Rapid Value and building an AI startup called Wiser now. All of this out of Kerala. So it's very interesting, right? The stories of how we build, especially these very difficult, hard problems. How do we solve these hard problems from India and then take it to the US, right? Take it globally. I think that's a very interesting topic, number one. Number two, I think we are today at a very interesting point, right? In the sense that today I would say, probably people would say, okay, some of these industries, while we are talking about unsexy industries, like the industrial work, welding, spray painting, HVAC, some of these, today I think these are now starting to become probably more of the resilient ones, with AI coming in, compressing some of the knowledge work and software and all of that. So I think from that standpoint, we are sitting at a very interesting point. And again, as somebody who went to IIT Madras, did welding myself, but then kind of moved over to the easier side, right? I think this story is really, really interesting. So I just want to say, I found it really fascinating what Shabari has done in terms of building, SKILLVERI as the world's leading extended reality-based multi-skill simulation platform for vocational training. So very interesting concept. And they're also one of the top 3 simulation providers in the United States. So it's been it's been a very impressive journey. So I'll probably take a moment before we start off. I think Shabari I think we have a video that talks about his journey, and then we will get into the discussion. So again, welcome, Shabari. It's great to be here. Really looking forward to the interaction.
Thank you, Rajesh. And one of the things I noticed in their presentation was one of the slides had a VR headset as a big hero image. And so that's the field we operate in, and I was happy about seeing that. But also, as being someone who has exhibited at GITEX, I really like the idea that Kerala should have its own GITEX equivalent event here. That's something I'm really looking forward to. Just play. When we are a small team with big dreams, every hour counts. I am Sabarinath C Nair, founder and CEO of SKILLVERI. So my co-founder came to me and said, we have this huge problem with training in ITI. I then read a report that the Delhi T3 had used labor from China, and the tunneling work for the Delhi metro was done by labor from Peru. And that's when I understood that there's a huge skill gap problem. There's an unemployability issue in terms of not having the right skill and getting the right quality when we employ our people. It has virtual reality headset which have to be high performance, and also has things like a real welding gun or a spray painting gun. Accessories like additional premium strap that can be more rugged, portable and swappable batteries that extend the usage of this. On the other side, whatever happens inside the headset has to be seen by the instructor and seen by the other students who are around. Today we are the largest populous country in the world, and we have more than 70% of our population in the productive age group. There's a lot more the country can achieve with the right kind of skills.
India is on the way to becoming a global manufacturing superpower, and SKILLVERI is happy to be a strong enabler for that growth.
ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞറിയിക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല, അത്ര രീതിയിലുള്ള പെർഫോമൻസ് ആണ് ഇത് കാണിക്കുന്നത്. വയർലെസ് ഓപ്പറേഷൻ ആണ്, കാരണം നമുക്കും ട്രെയിനുകൾക്ക് ഒരേ രീതിയിൽ അടിപൊളിയായിട്ട് ഉപയോഗിക്കാൻ പറ്റും.
It's an awesome experience. If these guys here have some really amazing equipment here, VR is pretty incredible. It's very comfortable. It's a very easy user interface. I can see how this could have a really large impact on training.
Kerala KSUM definitely has, or out here we do have a lot of good deep tech startups. So I think just starting off, Shabari, maybe just want to understand a little bit around your journey in terms of, like you said, I think this has been kind of the harder choice, or I mean, I think this is especially in a market like India where we are used to either soft, SaaS services, D2C. Deep tech is always kind of hard to build. So how did you get here? What's been kind of the journey? What motivated you? I think it'll be great to understand a little bit of that.
So in 2009, the CTO of the company I was then working for, he mentioned about this problem of ITI and polytechnic level talent, and how India needed about 15-20 times more output from there than what was coming. And it was not physically possible to build 20 times more institutes and then hope that everything would scale. And that technology had to come and do that for us. I didn't take it that seriously. He's also an alumnus of IIT. I was thinking, this guy from IIT, why is he thinking about ITI? I didn't have any background about ITI at that point of time. I was a pure techie at that point of time. But once I started reading up more, then this was shocking to me that that time this Delhi T3 and Delhi Metro was getting launched, and everywhere we were highlighting that. And then we, a high population country, bringing in people from China for the airport, and then people from Peru for doing that tunnel operating machine. So that was like a shock for me. And then I started reading up more. That was around the time when NSDC was also, National Skill Development Corporation, was also set up. And they had very ambitious numbers, like 500 crore people had to be trained in 10 years. And so then I went back to him and asked him what happened with his idea. He said he couldn't do anything much about it. There was a game studio he wanted to work with, but they put a very high charge and all. So then I said, I'm from a computer science background, you're from a mechanical background, so together we could do something. And then we built a prototype and then showed it around. It got very good response. So then I said, I will do it full time. And so I quit from his company to start another company with him. And that's how it started. So people had approached him at IIT Madras to find out what could be done. So there was some automotive companies who were manufacturing and selling locally, but they had recently got into a JV with foreign entities, like either Japanese or German companies. And whatever was getting accepted within the Indian context was getting rejected by the foreign JVs. So certainly we were accepting
quality requirements or not.
Yeah, we were accepting far lower quality for our people than what was globally acceptable. And the foreign JVs didn't want to put their name on something inferior. So there was an immediate industry problem, and then we had an opportunity to use tech to solve it. And that's how we got into this.
At that point, did you sort of think about this in terms of, some of the challenges you would face later, or some of the positive aspects, right, in terms of the modes that you'd be able to create? And then maybe it's a little bit around fast forwarding, what are some things that you didn't think about then in terms of either the challenges or the mode, right? And as somebody who's built a deep tech business now, what?
The only right thing we thought about at that point was that we should iterate quickly, go with prototypes and take it to the market and get the real user to try it and then come back and make it better. That was the only thing we did right. Everything else, it's easy to sit now and then say that we thought about that. Nothing of that sort happened. I was 29. I thought this is my only opportunity to do something, because my parents were from a government employment background. So I just took the plunge and then discovered and burned my fingers and learned things on the fly.
So I think the question is later, I believe that whole phygital aspect, right? The intersection of software plus physical, that turned out to be a mode for you.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about that in terms
Yeah.
of how did you
if
get
I
there
take it a
and-
little bit backwards from my own context, so I studied almost my entire education was in Kerala, and almost my entire job was in Tamil Nadu. And so initially I was in a pure software company where we were sitting in Chennai, and we used to do product engineering for a Silicon Valley based company. So whatever I did, I worked on things like 4G LTE in 2005, which came into the market much later, 10 years later. But there was no way I could see an end user or feel what I was doing was giving to a real user. There was some decision maker in Silicon Valley who decided what to build, what not to build. We had no logic about it. And like what most engineers do, you get bored and then you write CAT and then you go to a B school program. And then around the time I finished my MBA, the first company's CEO had moved on to a mechanical tech company. So that used to make automated teller machines. And
this is Vortex.
This is Vortex. So this is Vortex is one of the 5 companies in the world which make that the core mechanical cash dispensing unit that sits inside an ATM. I didn't know till then that India was one of the 5 countries which made this machine. There are a lot of India stories that we don't really talk about much.
Yeah.
And this required, so this was a very different technology compared to the typical ATMs you see. And when you go to an ATM, you see that there are sometimes 2 air conditioners. And we would think that it is for our benefit. No, it is for the ATM's benefit. The ATM has to sit cooled because it consumes about 1,500, 2,000 watts. So it's like more than an induction stove. So it has to be cooled down. So the AC was for the ATM, not for the user. And putting this in rural was very tough. So this is I'm talking about 2007, 8, 9 time frame, and UPI was not there, and cash was king. And so this ATM that the Vortex founder built ran on 50 watts of power, so it's like 1/20th, which meant that there was no AC requirement. It could put it on solar. And so this took me around India completely. So from a software developer, I became a technology marketer. And around that time, this National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme also had come, and the wages were dispensed through ATM so that there is a trail of how the money is given. And it had a biometric verification also. So I traveled extensively within India, about 25 of the 28 states. Got to understand how technology can have a huge impact, and mostly women benefited from this. So that gave me a perspective of how ATMs were actually decided by some protocol that was written in the 1980s. ATM does not decide anything. It just is a dumb terminal which sends messages to a central switch, and then switch decides which denomination, how many notes to be given. So it doesn't need that kind of computer or anything. But somebody wrote a protocol in 80s, and that's still being followed. Whereas you could have put a tablet there and done everything same. So a lot of perspective I could get on taking a fresh look at what the user really wants and how to tune things for that. Coming back to the physical part, so this hardware thing got me confidence to work on hardware. So things like first year engineering mechanics that I had totally ignored. When you put a kiosk, you have to see when it will topple if you start pressing too much.
And I think that's kind of what you were saying as well, right? In the beginning, you started off on a digital screen.
Yes,
From there, you went to a virtual reality device.
So
I think that, anyway, I think
so we ended up speaking with real welders. So when so the other challenge was when we started building, we started speaking with people who had PhD in welding. They had a very different perspective. And then when we started speaking to the actual welder, they would say, what you're saying is theory. Can you do it and show me? And then the PhD in welding cannot do it and show. And so then we found what is non-negotiable. So the weight of the welding gun was non-negotiable. So you cannot make it virtual. You have to make it physical. And then you have to put measurements into all that.
And is that because of the training aspect?
Yes.
In the sense that if you train without that weight in the hand, the training is incomplete. Is that?
Yeah, it is like this is muscle memory. So just like how you drive, you learn a few things and then you do it like autopilot. So if you train somebody on a simple bicycle and then suddenly give him the heaviest Enfield motorcycle, so that kind of problem would happen. So we observed many of these things, and then we clinically started filtering what is non-negotiable and what can be negotiable. So we found that if you look at the senses of the human body, you have eyes, ears, taste, touch, all that. People look at the spark of the weld. People look at the light, the sound of the weld. people don't smell a weld and say it is right or wrong. People don't taste a weld. People don't touch a weld. So we have to focus on the visual and the audio. And this I learned in the first few days itself when I spent time in a factory where the expert welder would walk around and then he would hear the sound of each machine and then say he's doing it right, he's doing it wrong. So some of these we wanted to bring into the simulation. And that's how that phygital aspect came. Of course, VR was not there in 2012. Right. So we built a lot of sensors on our own. And then later, 2016-17, when VR became more mainstream, we figured that whatever we were with very great difficulty building by ourselves was all abstracted and given for us in a VR device. So we threw out our own design and then switched to VR.
And I think that was the other part too, right? Because VR got really mainstream maybe, or came up in 16, 17, the devices, the easier or the mainstream device. When you had this concept in 2012, how long did it take for you before you got to an actual commercial or a real user, and was it all on screen at that point in time?
So 2012 to 2016, it was all on a 2D screen with a we tried multiple types of, so we had to find XY coordinates and we had to find the Z coordinates. So we had multiple sensors for that. So XY came from a touchscreen sensor. Initially, a resistive touchscreen was used, but then we had to change it to a IR sensor and so on. So a lot of work went into selecting the hardware component and then interfacing it seamlessly with the software. But that was because that was the only way to do it at that point of time. So the moment something became easier, we didn't stay attached to, hey, we spent so much time building this, we shouldn't throw it out. We felt something is better already available, let's integrate that.
And that happened in 16, 17?
16, 17.
But then your other versions are already live and people are using it.
We still have customers from 2013 who are still using it, what we built and shipped in 2013.
Got it.
And so we did not think so much at that time. We just knew there was a problem, there was a current technology available. What can be done with that technology to make it happen?
In that journey, you were talking about a couple of things, right? One is that, all the VR handsets came in, Oculus came in around, I remember playing around with Oculus around 16, 17, yes. Right? It's good fun at that point in time, right? But it's great that you're using it for, to train as opposed to playing games. But then my question was more around how soon did you adopt it? That's one. And then I also remember, you were talking about that inflection point during COVID when you were able to, really move into a little bit more of a SaaS model. So, if you could touch on both of these.
I think one of the previous questions also I did not answer. So when you are a fresh entrepreneur looking into a fresh problem, you would underestimate the problem. And I think that helps. If you list down all the problems, then you can never start. So what we thought was a product in 2013, if I look back, that was nothing. I still think my 2026 product still has some more way to go. But there's this, I remember there's this beautiful graph somebody had created about what's a minimum viable product. And so initially what we built was very aligned to the automotive sector where one type of welding with certain positions of welding was all that was required. So 2013 we had something which was complete for automotive, but it was not complete for welding. And whatever we built till 2016 until we moved to the VR, it was never available for the oil and gas sector. So 2016 onwards, it became available for the oil and gas sector also. So sometimes the rest of the tech ecosystem also enables you to do more things than what was there. But the whole idea was when you, education is an interesting sector, but then education is too crowded. Vocational is the poorer cousin of that. And within that, again, if you do only software, it's easier. If you do hardware, then you have to physically ship things and then hardware can fail much easier. And replacing a hardware is much more different than sending a patch to upgrade a software. So these problems were there. And the more we were able to reduce our own hardware and then system integrate with different things available in the market, that's when it worked better. So when the VR devices came, it was still a bulky machine. So what used to be a small suitcase-sized simulator became like a mini fridge size because the VR PC had to be big, everything. They needed these base stations, cameras, which would detect your position orientation.
Got it.
And the headset was wired. So my demonstration costs went up. So if I was always carrying a 30 kg suitcase, and some of my mentors at that time used to say that, if you have seen that movie, The Pursuit of Happiness.
Right. Yeah.
So there's this guy carrying
always running around with the suitcase. Yeah.
So that was me in 2017-18, always paying excess baggage fare, or if I'm traveling in a sleeper bus, I would let the equipment be comfortable and I'll sit in one corner. So that used to be the journey. But from that, when it became a portable headset with no wires, it was more of a technology problem for us that we had a heavy PC, powerful PC, which could run our software. We had to suddenly make it run on a mobile kind of a processor. But my demonstration cost became much lesser, and my demo kit will easily fit inside my shoulder backpack.
Got it.
So, and something like VR, even I can talk about it, you would have seen a video here, but if I had put the headset on you, that's the point when you would start believing it. And unless you show it, you can't make people believe it. So tech helps, and then I keep looking out for what's changing, and then from that new tech, what can I adopt to make my life simpler and my customers' life simpler?
No, I think those are great points, and I think maybe one takeaway, Shabari, one point that I want to highlight to any wannabe entrepreneurs in the group is, a lot of times people have ideas, but they wait for the perfect, the perfect scenario, right? And that happens quite a bit. I mean, and especially, that goes up if you are an MBA, like we have this experience when before we are starting your MBAs, like good MBAs, we started doing, spreadsheet simulations, right? And you try one version, you try another version. But ultimately you got to move, and you might not have complete data, but you got to move with what you have and then figure it out. Like you said, you started in 2012. You didn't know what you didn't know, but then that is a very helpful thing, right? So I think, and maybe the other point along with that is the fact that you found a real problem to be solved, right? One question that that came to my mind was, were you sort of selling this more to industry by industry at this point, or were you selling in parallel to education? How did that, and today you probably are selling both to industry and education, right? So how did that part evolve?
So initially 2012, one was that one industry had approached my co-founder and asked him specifically something. So
this is from Auto?
This was from Auto. This was right. In Hosur. So we had gone to their factory. Then we went to Bangalore and visited all the industrial areas, and then went around asking, do you find a problem with welding? Do you find a problem with painting? If I give you a training solution, how much will you pay for? Just a simple 2-3 line
market, yeah.
All sorts of random things, because our bill of materials had a certain value, and people would say, I will pay 15,000, I'll pay 20,000. So it was all violating all the Excel sheets I had modeled. And of course, all the Excel sheets we have built have gone wrong. None of them have come right. And
it never is, right?
And so we were approaching everybody. We went to ITIs. They said, we have a complex purchase process, tendering and all that. We went to colleges, private colleges. We went to industries. Actually, the first buyer was a private welding institute in Pune. And the second buyer was an engineering college which had set up a welding specialty lab in Pollachi, who used to train people from there and send them to Malaysia, Singapore, that side. And third was IIT Madras, where we got incubated. And fourth was an industry, which was a Japanese company in Sri City, which is about 70 kilometers north of Chennai. And that happened. And before that, somebody had already promised us a lot of orders. We had taken a soft loan from the incubator and then spent all the money in building the first finished goods. And then the auto sector went through a downturn at that time, and then nobody bought.
Got it.
So we were sitting with inventory right in front of our desks, and none of us were able to take salaries. We decided, okay, by December.
This was which year was this?
This is 2013.
2013. So yeah.
Yeah. So 2013 December, we said, okay, we are not even able to pay for the travel reimbursement. So if by December we don't get either funded or customers, we wind down. Funding somebody promised, but they backed out at the last moment due to some technical problem. But then we got 4 customers in one shot. Suddenly from 0, we went to 25 lakhs of revenue.
Okay.
And these kind of points happened in multiple stages at different scales. So That's why I'm here.
And I think that's almost like the fun of entrepreneurship too, right? Because I think if you're passionate, you'll somehow get there. And I think, was it Reid Hoffman who said entrepreneurship is sort of jumping off the cliff and making a parachute on the way? This is exactly
yeah.
this is exactly what you're doing, right? You're looking at December and then you're trying to build the parachute on the way. But I think it's
my Excel sheet had said I will be sitting in 1 crore, and then November I had a revenue of 7,500 rupees, which was a rental on the equipment that he said he will buy if I deliver what I promised, and he converted that to a sale.
Got it.
But my 7,500 versus 1 crore was the difference between the Excel sheet and the actual.
It's a small gap, right? At that stage. That brings me to this other topic, right? Which is, one of the things I noticed about SKILLVERI is that you've been fairly, I think, based on all the public information, you've been fairly capital efficient for a company that's been building deep tech hardware products. What was the philosophy? How did you make it happen? And of course, I think there is multiple ways of building companies, right? You could go for a lot of investor funding, you could bootstrap, but sometimes you need funding. And then we also live in a society where there is also a lot of glorification of fundraise itself than actual business success. So again, with all of these points in context, what was your philosophy? How did you manage? And I think, one point probably is that when you're able to grow without external funding, it means there is a demand as well. But then what was your experience there as well, right? Overall?
I think there is no right answer to it. It's more of a personal choice for me. I don't enjoy fundraising as a activity. I enjoy spending time with customers. So I get a high when I go make a product demo, and then I'm able to understand what more can I build for that customer, how can I extend my product line. That's what I enjoy. And when you are a small team, you would either have to spend time in acquiring customers, or you have to spend time in acquiring investors. And investors will give you more valuation if you have more traction. So if I distract myself into fundraise, then my valuation also goes down, and I don't enjoy doing that either. So I tried to, so my co-founder had this thing, like, if you have to follow the feet of either the opposite criminal or the policeman, you might as well follow the feet of the criminal.
Got it.
So you can follow the feet of the customer and then earn the revenue, and then worry about the other thing later. So that was a personal comfort factor, which I still have not outgrown. So that's one thing. There were a lot of other things I had no clue about, but I learned it on the fly because, like you said, you have to build a parachute before you land. So we did raise funds in a few times, and then I think one of the good things that happened to us was that when we got incubated at IIT Madras, we got some soft loans, and these loans helped us to build the immediate things that we had to build for making the first revenue. And this being a soft loan, we had a moratorium, and then within 2 years we have to start paying back. So then you have to worry about how do you find the money to pay back also. So that discipline of debt, I think, went well into the company culture.
And it kept the financial discipline going. And got it.
And we did raise funds, and if we had not raised funds, we would not have built a platform of products. We would have just been, just one single product kind of company. And there was a flip side also. The investors we took had very specific mandates, and then we were the only product company in their portfolio. So finally, it never really worked out in the long run. And so when the pandemic happened, we ended up buying back, the promoters ended up buying back the investors. And then we got a more aligned investor, which helped us pivot. So
grow from there.
Yeah, but money was important because without that money, I wouldn't have built a portfolio of companies.
Got it. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense because you're also building a lot of core technology there, and these are complex pieces of technology, right? Yeah.
So I think there are certain entrepreneurs who have that skill to tell a story and convince an entrepreneur, and then you become so big that then if you fail, then the society at large has a problem. So then everybody will come and prevent you from failing. And the sector I operate in is not that seen as attractive. So nobody becomes a welder because they want to be a welder, but somebody in the family is a welder or somebody in the village is a welder, and then they said that a welder can earn 4 lakh rupees a month. Nobody knows this. People get into engineering into a 4-year program because they think that's the way to become rich. But if you actually compare a welder salary versus average software engineer salary growth, it is much higher for a welder. And it is.
Is this in India as well?
It is everywhere.
Okay, I know this
world.
happens in the Western world.
So if you start as a welder in India now, you start at some 10,000 as a helper welder.
Right.
Then when you become a real welder in an informal way in 1 year without paying anything but continuing to earn as a helper, you get about 20,000. If you get a job in a company which is in a power sector or much more skilled welding, you get about 80,000, 1 lakh rupees in a vendor of NTPC or BHEL kind of place. If you are in a vendor of a nuclear power plant, you get 4 lakh rupees a month. And in US also, many of my students, when I say my students, the schools where my products are installed, they get $250,000 a year as a welder. The average Infosys guy on a H1B gets about 60,000-70,000.
Yeah.
So these kids, they go work in Alberta in Canada, which is like really cold. It's equal. It's the opposite of our Gulf for Kerala.
Right.
They work for 2-3 months and then they chill out for the remaining of the year because they don't know what to do with that kind of money.
I think this is actually very interesting, right? In the sense that especially this is all the more relevant now because one, some of these skills can create broad-based job growth. Two, it now with all of these knowledge, like we said in the beginning, with AI kind of taking away some of the knowledge work, it becomes imperative that people start looking at these options as well, right? I think it is. I think it's.
So in different societies there is different dignity for labor. I think the economic things have started working in India. So if you look at a company like Urban Company, what was completely unorganized has become semi-organized today. Only that social respect factor is still missing. And that stigma is much lesser in the US. So
Absolutely.
So that's one reason why it
you could be a truck driver, crane operator, and any of those jobs, right? But you get the respect.
Yeah, the UPS driver has been given $2 lakh a year,
right?
Which is again 3 times what an Infosys engineer makes in the US.
So that, I think that's good segue into another topic which would be of interest to a lot of people who are building from India and then eventually selling into US, right? And today, I know you are selling quite a bit in the US, right? So how was that transition, number one? Number two, maybe I think we touched on this a little bit, which was, during COVID time, you were sort of, you moved to a SaaS model. Maybe if you can talk a little bit about that. And then I would also like to go a little bit deeper into how did you make that move from the India ecosystem to, you building from here and then you started selling in the US. I think that journey would be really interesting to know a little bit.
So I was always wanting to build here. I was, even in my software life, I never tried to get for an on-site opportunity. I liked it here. And the same approach I took when I started a company also. I said, this is where the demand is. This is where it needs to be done. But some of my wiser friends told me all that is theoretically right, but in a cultural context, and you can see this in every press coverage in Economic Times also. There is either a IIT, IIM foreign return story. So I didn't go to IIT. I went to a normal engineering college. I didn't go to IIM. I went to a normal B school. And I never went abroad. So there is he had this opportunity, good life in US, which he left and came back to build in India. I was always building in India. That doesn't get enough respect it should get. Second is, so this friend of mine, he said...
That is a better story,
So this friend of mine who had built something in Silicon Valley, he said, you should not build it here. You should build it in Silicon Valley, prove it there, and then come back as a success story from Silicon Valley, then people will respect you. And I have seen it happen. So I built it here in India, and then somehow I'll come back to that. So I went to US. Now we are one of the top 3 there. And recently, somebody in the same city hosted me within the welding thing, and they know me for 12 years. But everybody, you're now selling in the US. So it must have been so difficult to get their approval, to get the product approval. Actually, it is far easier to sell in the US than in India. The Indians are far more demanding when it comes to features or everything. So because I had sold here in India, it was much more easier for me to sell in the US. So I think I benefited finally. I'm not ranting, but I benefited finally because it was easy for me to test all kinds of complex scenarios here. And things like travel and doing all that here is much cheaper. Validating a product here is much cheaper. So like you say, if you learn to drive in an ambassador car, then you can drive anything else.
I completely agree with you in the sense that, there is, I think as a society, we still have a little bit of that stigma, right? Wherein, not stigma, there's a little bit of that bias, right? If you are a Western company, you'll get a better acceptance.
Yeah.
If you work, I hope, I think it's a transition.
It's
I think it's changing,
The,
and we are in that
the startup story
process.
here has changed.
The startup story here is changing now. And like, 10 years back, things would have been different. It's better now, and it's probably on that journey.
When the move to the US was a very organic one. So we were continuously selling here. We were doing okay. And then people found us on the internet, and then we would do a visual demo, a video demo from here. And then some of them placed an order for $20,000. Just like seeing our video, and so we shipped it from here, and
these are still the bulky ones.
The huge ones.
The huge ones. So you didn't have issues in, like shipping from here. Or
we had to spend much more to do that, but
the pricing was what?
There was also pricing was much better than at least 30-40% higher than what we were getting in India, and that is also a lot of learning, because here in India we also accept a lot of bad packaging, and I think honestly our packaging was bad, and so we went, this was to some remote school in Quebec, Canada, and then we shipped it and we got into the reseller's office in Montreal. We took about a day to put this up. So they were looking at how our hardware was packaged, and then they were very unimpressed. I think I could almost see the regret on their faces by evening. Around 4 o'clock, they were all, did we buy the wrong thing? Once we put everything together and then we put the headset on them, they were like super impressed. So they were like, you guys are super on software, but hardware,
not that great looking, or the packaging was not great. And
so that way, I think we had to rework a lot of things, and then now we have come a long way in that 6-7 years. But that was one thing we discovered, that in the North American market, there's a lot of respect for Indian software. But Indian hardware was not, still not is, and we still have a long way to go. But this organic way of growing helped. One, our product became better in presentation and storytelling. And two, this pandemic happened, and then we could not ship anything from here. And so then one of our customers in Vancouver had said, we have 4 of these machines, but students are not able to come to our school. Is there some way you can make it work on those smaller $500 devices? So coincidentally, lucky for us,
the Oculus headsets.
Oculus Quest,
right,
first
right.
portable headset.
Right.
So computing power, it was like 1/20th of what we were earlier using. So it was a challenge to make it happen, but it was a technology challenge. Technology challenge is much easier to solve than a distribution or a logistics challenge. And so we somehow made it work. In 2 months, we made it work on a off-the-shelf headset that they could buy. So they just bought the headsets from Amazon. They shipped it to each of their 20 students. And then we remotely installed the software. So this was the first time we did it in a SaaS.
And all of this you were able to manage remotely?
Everything was remote. So it didn't have the real welding torches or attachments. But the school felt it was much better to make them do at least with that controller than them watching a YouTube video and then thinking that they can.
Got it.
So there was a certain value to the end user, and $500 for a Canadian school was affordable. A $500 device in India would land up at around 80,000 because there is import duty and other things. So 80,000 was not affordable for the Indian context, at least from a perception point of view. There is still actually value if you build around that. But that's a complex story to explain. But at least that started happening. So the school that had 4 of our big machines suddenly had 30 of the small ones.
Got it.
And then we could figure that instead of making them pay upfront, we could sell them an annual software license, and we didn't have to do any shipment at all. So no inventory carrying cost, no shipping cost. So the business changed.
So that kind of rapidly expanded the market as well for you?
Yes, we went from, so in India, for us to go from 0 to 100 customers took about 9 years. It went from 0 to 100 customers in the North American market in the SaaS way in about 2 years.
Okay, so that
So, huge
significantly
change.
accelerated.
Huge change.
Yeah, great.
And that gave us confidence to start traveling there and understanding the end use. Otherwise we would, as Indian entrepreneurs, we would multiply the exchange rate and look at all the costs, and we would hesitate to, make one more city to be covered.
Right.
So slowly, once we started earning in dollars, we were also more open to spending in dollars, and we realized that unless you spend in dollars, you cannot earn in
You
dollars.
can't, yeah.
So that mindset change also happened, and then we realized what SaaS by itself had only a certain saturation. At some point, people will want the real welding gun, and so we figured a way to start with a SaaS-based product, and then if they like it, they can add on the hardware at extra cost, add on the software at extra cost, and then we had a full. So we started with something.
And when you say SaaS, you're not having the welding gun. You're still kind of within the simulator.
The headset is also bought by the customer. So it's
Okay,
like
got
you buy an app on your phone.
Got it. And then you are pushing the software
Yeah.
there. But then if you're adding the welding gun, now they build these
They have to buy for
accessories
that
and then-
hardware, and then they again pay every year for the software that enables the
Got it.
welding torch to work. So that became a scalable model, and most people who started with the software one, they would very soon add on the hardware. And that none of my competitors have it. They have a full-fledged hardware-only model. So only we have a SaaS model. So that reduced the entry barrier in a huge
Significantly.
Yeah.
Okay. And a couple of points there as a follow-up, Shabari. One, the general advice that we hear when you're building for US market is just build for US market. Do not spend your time in India market because of all the challenges, right? Payments and harder customers, like you said, right? It's much harder to sell here and deliver here. So that's a standard, like a SaaS advice that you get, SaaS or software advice that you get. But you built here.
Yeah.
Now, maybe a couple of questions for you is one, how did you benefit from building it here, right? And two, how did you benefit by when you started traveling, when you started looking at talking to customers there? And you're also talking about the differences between customers, and it's almost counterintuitive in some sense, right? I think those points would be very interesting to hear, or some of those. Yeah.
I think when we spoke yesterday, you also mentioned about how bootstrapping in the US is very costly. So I think that we could not have built it unless I had pitched really well and raised big funding. We could not have
Absolutely.
built it in the US.
Right,
That's for
right.
sure.
Yeah. So you had to build it here.
Yeah. We had to build it here. The talent is also available here. The ecosystem is there. It is just not seen as much as a typical software situation. And the need is also here. The Indian context, the population is 3 times with 1/3 of the geographical area. So the same resources are getting stretched 9 times. So if even for my business, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be much bigger in India, but the quick short-term adoption will be much faster in the Western market. Having said that, Indians are far more used to chaos. So even if your product is not packaged well, but if it delivers some of these things, you can do
They'll
a
figure it
WhatsApp
out.
video call and
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. Or you can do a WhatsApp video call and sort out a customer support issue. Whereas in the US, you have sent a manual. It has 5 steps. Somewhere it did not mention about one dialog box where you have to press OK or cancel. If you forgot that, that person will get stuck there, and it will not get used until you physically go there and sort it. And that's a very costly affair. So while you make more money on the sale, you have to think 10 steps ahead for the customer success.
From a service.
Yeah. Whereas, and every day that negotiation is very, very tough, and I get emotionally drained when a negotiation happens. And it just finds new forms. So, when Ola or Uber came up, the biggest benefit for somebody living in Chennai was that you don't have to negotiate with the auto guy. Now, all of these apps have given that option to add 10,
Right.
20, 30. So it has just taken a different form, and it has come back to you end up becoming what you set out to
doing a
disrupt.
lot of, yeah.
So that fact, negotiation factor is there. Whereas in the US, they would, if the price is not right for them, they would either ghost you, or they will tell you this price is not okay for us. I have only so much dollars. Do you have anything for that? And if you give them a lower tiered product, they're okay with it. They understand that I'm not paying much, so I will get what I pay for is something understood. So those factors are there. And if you don't actually go there and meet customers and try and sell, you will never learn this. It'll all be theory.
Absolutely.
And whereas even within India, selling in each state is a different skill. So selling in Tamil Nadu versus Kerala itself is different, but it is, at least in South and West, you can sell on merit. North, you have to sell on a totally different way altogether. So that nuances, unless you travel and learn it firsthand.
Absolutely agree. In fact, I mean, having sold quite a bit in the US, but we also do a little bit of work here. We feel that it's a lot more easier to read the signals in the US market, right? They're a lot more straightforward. You're either buying or not. You at least get an answer, right? And you can move forward.
So knowing, as an entrepreneur, knowing it firsthand, I would say is a important investment of their time, because otherwise a sales guy can take you for a ride.
Right.
Typically in B2B, where the sales cycle is 6 months to 12 months long. So to know whether a sales guy is going to deliver something or not, you will have to burn about 8 months of cash plus travel. And unless you know, unless you have done it yourself, you will never know.
Right, absolutely. Shabari, one question maybe, I know you spoke about this earlier, some of the challenges, but again, I think for the entrepreneurs here, and I think most of us entrepreneurs know that, from outside it looks nice, right? But real life, 80% you are either depressed or, you're struggling, and then there'll be a few days where you get a win. Yeah. Can you talk about some of the, toughest situations that you went through, and how did you overcome those, right? I think that'll be good. As an experience.
I think generally when we study, we think the syllabus is wrong. The syllabus is mostly actually right. And when I studied computer science, the textbooks were all outdated even back then. Textbooks were all outdated even today. But even then, AI was a subject in my 2000 to 2004 computer science engineering. So AI is not that new. So things come back at some point, and then you should have learned it better is a thing I have learned. So in tech, that was there. But I would say financial skills is something, when I did my MBA, I did only my compulsory finance courses. That too I somehow bugged up and learned just enough to get a passing grade. And when I started running a company, these numbers came to bite me back. So managing cash has always been a problem. Inside my company, I have this joke saying that I am the king of bad times. I know how to manage when money is very tight. But when you start getting money, you have to then plan it well and then put it in the right places. So learning to be king of good times is actually a tougher thing for me as an individual. But if I had learnt my finance courses better, maybe I may have done better.
And I think, unless you actually do it, you'll never learn it also, right? It's much more easier to learn in the textbooks than... maybe, just on the same, along the same way, what would be your advice? You are somebody who is founded a deep tech company, 12, 13 years or 13 years back. You've been building it very successfully. If you look back, what would be the advice that you would give to the 29-year-old yourself? Or basically, what would you tell somebody who is starting that journey on a deep tech startup?
There are a lot of things. I think I try and see how it can be more contextual to the market and that person who is starting it. I would say in India, almost everybody is an engineer, and therefore you come from an engineering background. We think building the product is the tough part. That idea to building the product is, people think it's very difficult. But even if you have a ready-made product, and even if there is a market, to sell it is much more tougher. And engineers don't get it. And engineers mostly, including myself, tend to find joy in building it myself than seeing if somebody has built it, can I integrate it and then add something to it and then sell at a premium. So that's something I learned after burning fingers a little bit. And I see this with any new entrepreneur who comes, because they would have faced one personal problem and they think, therefore, I face this problem, there'll be millions of others who face this problem, therefore I should build it. They don't do enough market study on are there other alternatives already there, or if there is no other successful company, why have they not become successful? That marketing and sales side of it is tough, and even distribution is also tough. So generally in our culture there is a lot more focus on building and very less focus on selling. And selling in Kerala, I think it's seen as a very bad job. So one of my mentors had written a book called How to Help Your Customer Buy. Don't sell, help your customer buy. Right. So that kind of thought process we should actually understand. Selling is not a bad thing. If you are solving a genuine problem and then getting a fees in return, there's nothing wrong in it. So think about the how will you make money part.
Absolutely, yeah. Got it. Okay. And I think, just to add to it, right, people also tend to put themselves in box saying, I cannot sell, or I'm not a salesman, right? But really, you just need to show the value, right? Yeah. And that's kind of your message as well. But I hear you that the other part that you mentioned is that, people tend to underestimate underestimate the need or overestimate the need for a product in a market, and underestimate the effort and cost that is needed to sell. Basically, sort of not really paying attention to the sales and marketing side, right? That's kind of so. I think your message is build the product, but then also think about how to take it to the market, right?
Yes. Yeah, but of course, sometimes the gut feel works.
Right.
In post facto, it is much more easier to analyze. But you go with a certain level of mix between gut feeling and some 50% data, and then sometimes you turn lucky, sometimes you don't.
Do you have maybe one last question, and then we'll get open for questions. So, and one specific thing, Shabari, is you've been part of Prime Minister's Champions of Change panel. Would like to understand a little bit around how that came along, and more importantly, what is the vision there? Plus, what's the reality on the ground in terms of we definitely have a need for these skills. What are the initiatives that are going on which would kind of enable building these skills within the country in a broad-based manner? Any insights would be great around that.
So the thing I learned about working with government is that if it is something fundamentally has to be changed, then it's going to take decades. So some things that we started working on with the Union Ministry of Skill Development in 2015, they have started showing some progress now in 2026. And we always used to get frustrated with the pace at which government things would move. And then you would have done a lot of work and suddenly the IAS officer gets transferred and then the new guy has absolutely no interest. Those things happen. So at the core was we looked at how the vocational education entire value chain happens. For the text-based knowledge, it is far more clear. And even though people are not happy with JEE or NEET, at least what is being measured has some correlation with what is being taught in the next few years. And a NEET score or a JEE score is a somewhat fair indicator of your skill or knowledge in that. When it comes to the ITI education, you are going to work with hands. Unfortunately, the selection process starts with your 8th class or 10th class marks on subjects that have no correlation with what you're going to learn. Then when you're learning also, there is very little practical training because of costs of doing that. And when you're getting interviewed also, very few companies spend that extra effort to make them do something. They will do a theoretical Viva kind of an interview. So these three things we felt was a fundamental problem with the vocational education system, whether it is here or abroad. And we looked at some things where technology changed a lot of things. So like when internet came about, we had this cyber cafe. Before that, we had the PCO, STD booths. So is there some way that this could tie up with scaling up? So we said the ITS are there. If the ITS could be a hub, and there could be spokes where, like a cyber cafe, you could go to a nearby place who is a CSE who doesn't do this alone, but he has other things and he does this on a side. So you go to a place where there are a multitude of simulators, and the simulators measure your hand skills for multiple trades.
Got it.
You also get to try and find out what you are suited to. The system also measures and tells you what know what you are more suited to. And then you go tie up with a nearby small scale industry to get a practice hands-on. So you do some bit on the simulator, you get a score, you go to the hands-on, then you go to an ITI and get a proper test. So this system.
So your testing is actually on the testing on the skills, real skills as opposed to.
So this is something we wanted for, and since you have Aadhaar and all other systems that are digital, it's easy to verify against something like that. We have a much better
biometric identification
tech backend than actually US for that. So something like this we proposed to the Skills Secretary in 2015, and just last year, World Bank, ADB, Center and State is coming out with a 60,000 crore project. 200 ITIs will be hub and 800 spokes. Exact same number we had proposed. It took 11 years.
Got it.
It is still not implemented, but it happens.
But it's on the way.
Yeah. Same thing we work with ILO and other international agencies too. With governments, it's a different ball game, but you have to stick to it and
it takes time. And you got to be patient.
But it is meaningful.
And the scale is, the impact will be high, when it happens.
Yeah, maybe before I die, I'll see some benefit.
Hi, my name is Razeen. I'm the co-founder of a company called DataWise. So you mentioned that it's easier to sell in the US, right? So from the customer conversations you have had in India and in US, is there any, what are the specific differences that you have seen in their focus, in the kind of questions they ask you?
If they don't want it, they're more upfront about it. And they don't haggle. And that's a personal choice. There are people who enjoy haggling. They would do much better than me. I don't enjoy haggling. So I don't sell by choice, but as a company, founder-led sales work. Within my company, I sell best. So to bring more money into the company, I continue to sell. But if I could give it off to somebody else and be sure that revenue will come, then I would rather build products. But I would still continue to talk to customers to know what they want and how it is being used. But the technical questions are very similar, but there is more openness towards different pricing, and there is they don't make you come back and do multiple demos just for their own learning. Sometimes you have to figure out whether they are making you run around for their learning. When I was in an engineering college, the LCD projectors were just about coming into the market. Until then, they had the overhead projectors. Our principal would call Sony this week, Panasonic next week, National the week later. When our seminar season comes, everybody will give a demo. At some point, those guys figured that our college is never going to buy. So these things happen a lot more in India compared to the US. I've had a case where one large automotive company, they had a very urgent exhibition and within their factory. And they wanted us to demo, and we said, you buy it, we will come demo. They paid $25,000 for it. Here, an L&T or any of the big names, they will come and say, you come and do 10 demo, and you give it free because we are L&T or because we are Tata, our name will get you 100 orders. Nothing will come, but they will say this. So it's frustrating after. Yes, sir.
I got problem with my knee, so that's why I'm sitting like this. So do you think in today's times, having a pure software-based company is a disadvantage because it's completely intangible, and you have an advantage because you have somewhere you have a physical product also.
Whatever you are serving, if it is served by a software, then if you don't have to ship anything, that's life easier for them, that's life easier for the company also.
Yeah, I am talking about perception. Do people haggle, they say this is just some software or something like that?
No, that happens. So when I said my product earlier was the size of a fridge, now it is this small.
That's why I asked, because
so then they say,
very tangible
that was these many lakhs, this is this many lakhs, why are you charging so much? So in India, that is much higher. You have to feel, and the sector I sell to, manufacturing, they're so used to looking at the steel content, multiplying the per kg steel rate, and then thinking this should be only this much. So sometimes, but that same company will pay for a Creo or a AutoCAD license, but they will not pay for this because the amount of steel is less. So it's a perception thing. If you're Indian company as well, right? Huh? And it's Indian. And this is Indian company only. I'm talking about Indian context.
Yeah, Indian company doesn't want to pay to Indian company. That's right.
Yeah, that's also there. Yes, and but I think that's a problem more India centric. In US, this B2B SaaS is a very big term, and a lot of people make a lot of money selling only software. So it depends on the market you are serving, and is it easy for that market to understand the value?
So it's a fantastic journey. I think you have done an excellent
Thank you, sir.
Progress. Thank you very much.
I'm from a power plant project commissioning side. So I worked in industries. So I think you addressed one issue, okay, like welding. There are many issues in the industries. So what is the next thing you are focusing? So that is one thing. And in my when I done my BTech, okay, what people are doing, we have a welding lab. But in welding lab, everybody will not do welding. Some people only will do. So what everybody will do, they will take all the welding one thing, and when SAR is coming, they will put the welding set. So I remember that issue. So there are multiple issues. I worked in for shutdown maintenance of oil and gas industries also. So there are like wiring issues, like short circuit in pumps, motor. These are also one opportunity for this skill.
Got into painting. That was industrial painting, protective coating. Then we got introduced to automotive painting and so on. So we had a journey where we did it one by one. And now we have welding, spray painting, AC repair, solar panel installation, CNC machine operator. And like you said, this electrical, there are at least 100 trades that can be made better with technology. And different things require different levels of technology. The challenge again I find is, if I have a good virtual reality simulator, it may be 80% effective for MIG welding, it may be 40% effective for this arc welding in an oil and gas sector. Different applications will have different role. Or if I'm teaching somebody plumbing, the physical act of cutting a pipe, how to apply a hacksaw, the physical force feedback is very costly to build. If you build it realistically, then the cost of the hardware goes up. It may be much cheaper to actually buy a real pipe and then make them cut on a real pipe. So when we teach, there are different aspects. There are certain things that teacher can come and say in a classroom. There are certain things that the teacher can show a video. There are certain things that can be done using an interactive animation e-learning module. There are certain things that the student has to learn by doing it themselves. There are certain things that a simulator can do. So for each trade, the percentage of the simulator or a technology may be different. And when it comes to policy making, that's the problem. One of my competitors went and put a clause saying that 55% of all ITA learning should happen on simulator in virtual reality. So this is how policy making happens. So NIMI is like the NCERT of ITI, National Instructional Media Institute. So they make all the textbooks for ITI. So they took the textbook and said everything has to be in VR. But this pipe cutting, connecting wires I can do. I can say I have to identify this color, I have to take this multimeter, I have to check this. All that can be done in VR. But cutting a pipe or drilling a hole on a wall, how do you hold it? How much pressure do you apply? That cannot be taught with virtual reality. Or it can be taught with virtual reality, but the hardware will cost you 1 crore. So, but none of this exists in the competitor product also, but they have successfully put that one line into the specification. So these challenges keep happening. So my personal preference has been to work with private sector, because if there is a real pain, they will pay to solve it at some point. They may haggle, but at some point, if you are solving a problem, they will pay. So a company like Ashok Leyland, where 5 paisa difference can make a difference, they have bought 7-8 times from me. So that's a sign that we have actually delivered some benefit on the shop floor. So we try and filter like that. And there is so much to build and there is talent to build. I don't want to be building everything. I can only build so much. There should be others also who should build.
Raised first, then you bought back the shares, and then you got a new investor, right? So definitely there should be some learning that you had about what kind of investor to go for with respect to you, yourself, and when to fundraise. So any learnings in that?
So I raised funds after 4 years of running the company. The investor was actually more interested than I was. And the investor, the biggest thing about selling, you never realize when things got sold, is FOMO, fear of missing out. He said, you have a you have, the investors talk to each other. There is a reputation that you have that you will talk, but you will finally not take the money. You have a reputation like that. So if you don't take this money, then you can never take that money, was the pitch that Dell Foundation used on me. And that was my worst fundraise that happened. It's a very reputed fund, but the objectives were not aligned. We were the only products company. They had 29 other services companies. So it's my personal mistake, but this short list of investors whom I wanted to meet was, there's a company called Wilgrow. I saw them in the Thai presentation as well. So Wilgrow had given me a list of 35 VCs in that space, and I had shortlisted some 5 or 6. And then I met many of them. I didn't like if they prescribed to me on how to run so the challenge, and no offense to any VCs here if they are, but there'll be some hotshot MBA who have never even worked. They would have done engineering. They would have then gone to do MBA, and then this is the first job in a VC that they're ever doing. And then they will come and tell you how to run your business, which you have been running for 5 years. So if somebody says like that, I will just outright not have a conversation after that. So this is my filter. But there are people who have taken that money and then told the bigger stories together and then found the next bakra, and then those are the ones which you read in as a success story. But I am clear the market I'm operating in, I have a 2-year runway of cash. And I'm going to be spending very carefully, because there are a lot of case studies which don't come out that well. Even Byju's has such a bad name today. But how many of you here know that Byju's fall started when the last investor promised $1 million and the investor did not have the money to pay? That triggered a debt cycle which crashed everything. Everybody blames Baiju Ravindran, but nobody talks about the VC there. So there's another company called Printo. I don't know if you're familiar, but people in Bangalore and Chennai would know Printo. They scaled, they raised investment. The Printo investor was not having the money to give the second tranche. Then the promoter bought it back, scaled it down, and then Printo still exists, but 1/10 of what they used to be.
So I'm actually originally from the real estate sector. I'm an architect originally. And what happens in the architecture field is there is a lot of what I call as very derisively passing the parcel kind of investment, where the investor will come and say, okay, I'm going to book 15,000 square feet for your next project, and they'll discount the price, and they'll say, okay, here is a cash. That guy gets ready cash, and then he's happy, the other guy is happy. And then what they do is that after 6 months, say, okay, now how much has the price gone up? Can you sell my parcel to somebody else?
This happens in every sector, not just architecture.
Yeah, so I'm very skeptical of investment of that kind of maturity, because it finally ends up becoming a huge liability for the entrepreneur, because what they're actually doing is passing the parcel.
Almost all sectors, not just the investment sector. Every business will have this set of things happening. And if you find the right partner, then you do it well. So if you look at, it also depends on what you define as success. So a company like Ather started around the same time that I started in IIT Madras, but they have come up really well in a certain way. And then there was a time when Ola was doing much better because they were telling much better stories. But Ather had much better core tech. And Ather could not have been built without external money. There was no way Ather could have been built without external money. So that kind of a business needs investment, and it needs the right kind of investors. So I'm not saying investment is bad. I'm saying if there is a possibility to scale your business with customers' money, then there is more genuineness. Investor money can postpone a failure for much longer. It can turn out bad for more people. The other thing about being an entrepreneur in India is that bankruptcy is treated very badly. So that's a cultural thing. In US, you can declare yourself bankrupt and start all over and even become US president also. But here, you can't even start one more. You can't even get any kind of home loan or any kind of loan if you default on something. So the risk as an entrepreneur is much higher here in India than in the US.
So just a couple of words. I think, Shabri, I want to say the story has been incredibly impressive. Building deep tech products right from here, taking it globally with a very capital efficient way. this combination you don't see much, I mean, in reality, right? So I just want to say, for me also, it's been a great learning, and I hope, it's been a good conversation, great conversation for the audience as well. Thank you very much. I think you've been very, very forthcoming, very, really honest conversations. I think it really enjoyed the session. So thank you. Really appreciate this.
Thank you, Mr. Shabarish, for the brilliant session. So as a token of gratitude from Thai side, I request Rajesh to hand over a memento. Thank you very much, Mr. Shabarish, and thank you, Rajesh.